Hello friends, I am back with a video today about fusion rifles. For those who did not notice, we are getting particle reconstruction back in the artifact for episode Heresy. Now, particle reconstruction is not exactly the same as particle deconstruction that we had back in Season of the Lost. With this particular version of the perk, dealing sustained damage with fusion rifles or linear fusion rifles partially refills the magazine from reserves and grants them bonus damage for a short duration against that target. That being said, we have a reasonable idea of what to expect from this perk thanks to the return of other similar perks throughout episode Echoes and most recently episode Revenant with grenade launchers. So we can expect that particle reconstruction will still feel good and will have a meaningful impact on the effectiveness of fusion rifles and linear fusion rifles, but probably won't be as strong as it was back in Season of the Lost. You take the good with the bad there. I am thrilled to have particle anything in my life again, because as a huge fusion rifle stan, I am very excited to be able to dust these things off and really put them to work in a world where rocket sidearms have begun to dominate the special slot. It'll be really nice to fusion some things and disintegrate them again. What I wanted to accomplish today was discuss a few options, specifically one for each available element for legendary options, and then an exotic that I am super pumped to be able to use next episode. Or, I should say today. By the time you guys watch this video, the episode will either be coming out in a few hours or will be out. Also, before we get into that, for anyone who doesn't know, I am doing Game to Give. You're going to see in the footage, you probably see at the top and bottom, I forgot to remove my Game to Give overlay, but that's okay. I am participating in Game to Give, and so far we have raised over $300, and I am super proud of that. We have almost doubled what we earned last year, or I should say raised last year. So super appreciative of that. If you guys would like to contribute, I will have the link to my specific campaign in the description. It goes without saying there's no obligation, but if anybody does want to contribute, wants to get a sick emblem for $7, wants to get a shader and a sparrow for $25, wants a really cool shirt and help the people of LA who are struggling with the fires, you can do all that just by clicking that link, contributing to the campaign. And for the people among you who are saying, what's in it for me, Nightmare? How can I make you suffer? For every $100 raised, I will be doing a full Gambit reset with the option, if we do manage to hit $1,000, you guys can vote for what happens at $1,000 and you can double the amount of Gambit that I have to play. So we could be looking at 20 or more resets potentially if you guys contribute to Game to Give, and I've only done one so far, and I am obligated to get those done within episode Heresy. I have to do it. I'm setting the goal to do it before Apollo, and so that's going to be a lot of Gambit. Also, I will be streaming the dungeon on Friday. When that releases, I will be running it again with the same team I ran Vesper with, so if you guys want to come check that out, twitch.tv/nightmarecv, we'll be running. We're hitting it right at reset this time, which I'm very excited about, kind of be in the thick of that race, which will be nice. And again, if you guys want to come out and show some support, I would really appreciate that. Getting to the meat of today's episode, we're going to start by talking about stasis options. And I had a few in mind, but despite it being not quite as good as it used to be, I am hard-pressed to not mention Riptide. One, because Riptide is relatively easy to get. Crucible engrams, if you can stand to do a little bit of Crucible, you can get a Riptide. Or if you wanted a Riptide, you could have gotten one for your bento boxes if you really wanted that particular role. The reason, though, I turn to Riptide is because even beyond the obvious pick of Chill Clip, which the blue options on here are the ones that I have on my roll or would roll with in this scenario. So those are kind of my top two picks, but there's a lot of other great options. Chill Clip is the obvious option. Even though it takes 3 shots to proc, Chill Clip is still very effective. And when you apply particle reconstruction to that concept, getting those 3 hits means you're going to actually be doing more damage. You're going to be refilling that magazine, which means you're going to have more opportunities to apply Chill Clip. So this might be an episode where Riptide really gets to rip. You know, forgive the pun. On top of that, it has options like Frenzy, which is a flat 15% damage buff, while also giving you handling and reload speed, 100 of each for 7.2 seconds. That's an absolute win. You know, you can't really go wrong with that. If you're looking for abilities, you know, it has Wellspring, it has Demolitionist. If you're looking for survival, it has Unrelenting. It also has Golden Tricorn if you're really trying to build into the Stasis kit. You can get this up to a 50% damage buff. And that's a lot of damage, especially at the rate you'll be firing it on a rapid fire frame. As far as third column, Lead from Gold is my personal pick here. Compulsive Reloaders, maybe a close second. Stats for All is always a great option. And then Auto-Loading Holster, even though it's a little slower than it used to be, is still a great pick here. Also, don't sleep on Field Prep. Legendary Fusion Rifles, my biggest issue with them is they don't have a ton of reserves. So being able to pump that number up a little bit, for me, is a huge win. And I don't hate field prep on this, especially when you're going to be funneling a lot of ammo into the gun and you want to keep using Chill Clip knowing it takes 3 shots with this gun. Having a little bit more ammo can actually go a long way. So really, I would actually recommend Riptide if you're looking for a Stasis fusion to use in Heresy. Moving on to Strand. Nox Perennial 5 was not my first pick. My first pick would have been Scatter Signal, but being that there's no reliable way to earn that weapon currently unless you played in Season of the Wish, it's hard to recommend for this type of video where I'm trying to cover as many people as possible. A lot of you will have it available, and I would highly recommend you do that, and it's probably a mostly similar role, but with the interest of including all players, including those who may not have played back then, Nox Perennial is the first and probably only high-impact frame fusion rifle that I'm going to have on this list. They're not my favorite archetype. I understand they hit hard, and for the right player in the right hands, you can do a lot of damage with this fusion rifle. Controlled burst, specifically, is huge on this weapon because it's going to increase your damage, which particle reconstruction is already increasing your damage, and it's going to decrease your charge time, so you will be able to fire the weapon faster while dealing more damage. That is an absolute win. And that makes this a much more appealing option, especially if you're looking for a fusion to do boss damage. If you want something to fit into a rotation, or you want something that you can dump when you've fired off your rockets and you're waiting for them to auto-load or to reconstruct, whatever the case is, being able to have this fire off a couple shots and then swap back, you'll be able to put out a lot of damage. Of course, depending on what element you're playing, you can compensate for some of the weaknesses of this frame. Specifically, if you're playing Void or Arc, you can give big boosts to stability and handling with Elemental Capacitor. Hatchling is a popular option for Strand builds. And in the third column, you have a few intriguing options. I tend to like Lead from Gold, but I think Lead from Gold is just the one I have. Envious Assassin would probably be my preferred pick. Being able to overflow that magazine and get the most out of controlled burst is way more clutch. So in this case, kind of disregard that blue circle. That just happens to be the one I have. Envious Assassin is 100% the option you should be going for. And short of that, Threat Detector is another option that will compensate for the stability and handling. Generally speaking, at the ranges you're going to be using fusions, even though this one is a little bit longer in that range profile, you should be able to get some use out of Threat Detector, but my top two would definitely be Envious and then Lead from Gold. Moving to the energy slot, Zealot's Reward was recently reprised. It was brought back with new perks, and there's a lot of different ways that you can build this fusion. Destabilizing Rounds is getting a very fun sounding buff next episode, and so I really believe that that's going to be a fun way to play this as more of an ad clear fusion. And then the tried and true Reservoir Burst, I did at one point try destabilizing and controlled burst. They're a little bit conflicting, so you really need to decide if you want this to be an ad clear fusion or a damage fusion. If you're going for an ad clear fusion, Particle Reconstruction might not matter as much to you, but Destabilizing Rounds is still going to be fun, so I wanted to mention it. It's already really good right now on this gun, and it's only going to get better. Controlled Burst is going to be your damage pick 100% of the time. Auto-loading holster is going to be a great pick for that, to pair with that. Attrition Orbs is an intriguing option if you want to be able to keep generating orbs while you're hitting away at bigger targets. Under Pressure can give you a little bit of extra stability as you fire the mag. For me, not really a game changer. But honestly, for me, I'm looking at auto-loading. I'm looking at destabilizing, depending on how I want to build this weapon for damage or for ad clear. And then I'm looking at Lead from Gold as kind of a nice neutral pick in that column. One for All is going to be a great option, especially if you're pairing it with Destabilizing Rounds. As I mentioned, Controlled Burst, and then Reservoir Burst is kind of my pick for I want to kill a bunch of ads right now, spread Destabilizing, reload, and do it again. That's pretty much that. Zealots is a great pick, and there's a lot of ways to build it, and especially with that origin trait that it has, the photo inhibition, is going to be a very popular fusion, I believe, in this episode. Solar is tricky because there is currently only, let's say, 2 reasonably obtainable solar fusion rifles right now that I would even consider. One being On the Moon, which those perks and that particular weapon is very out of date, and I would not recommend the Moon fusion rifle. That leaves us with Axial Lacuna. Of course, if you played during Season of the Witch, you'll have Eremite, which has a ton of great options, so definitely look to that first if you played and got that frame craftable during that season. And then there's some old world drops, don't worry about those. Axial Lacuna does have a few intriguing options here. Demolitionist is always great for generating ability energy, and you also have Desperate Measures to pair that with if you want to be able to build up a nice high damage fusion rifle, getting it up to 30% bonus damage if that's the route you want to go. Reconstruction is another great option. Demo is going to be a little quicker, at least with that grenade, to throw the grenade, refill the magazine, continue to do damage with something like Controlled Burst. But Reconstruction is a nice, reliable option if you want to put it away, have it ready and raring to go when one of those enemies shows up that you want to dump your fusion rifle on. You're going to be able to get at minimum 10 rounds in the magazine with Reconstruction at its base of 5. And again, with Controlled Burst, you're going to fire those faster while doing more damage while continuing to reload. As you can see, it kind of all feeds into itself. Demo or Reconstruction are going to be your 2 picks in the 3rd column, and then Controlled Burst or Desperate Measures are my picks for the 4th column in this particular episode. If you really want ad clear, Incandescent can be fun, but Controlled Burst is right there. And with Particle Reconstruction, Incandescent is... I don't think Incandescent is as good on a fusion rifle as Destabilizing Rounds can be. If you think I'm wrong, fair. For me, I would rather have destabilizing rounds than incandescent. In this particular circumstance, I think incandescent is a better primary perk. I think destabilizing rounds is a better special weapon perk. So that's just kind of where I fall on that line. If you really want to roll incandescent, you really want that verb synergy, absolutely go for it. No one can fault you. Finally, as far as our legendary options go, we have the iterative loop, which is acquired on Neomuna. And actually, I don't think I mentioned the axial is available on the Pale Heart. Iterative loop is available on Neomuna. It is craftable, and it has one of my favorite origin traits in the nanotech tracer rockets. Tons of fun. This is going to be a much simpler roll for this one, because unfortunately a lot of the perks that would synergize, like Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie, for example, are in the same slot. So you don't really get that benefit together. You have to choose one or the other. And as far as fourth column perks go, you really only have 3 damage options. Adagio is fine, but I would rather have Volt Shot, personally. Volt Shot's going to let you kill an ad quickly and then apply Jolt to your next shot after reloading. That's going to let you deal more damage to the target, let you dump those rounds, deal even more damage with Particle Reconstruct, continue to proc Jolt, and just beat them down. On top of that, you get the additional damage from the nanotech tracer rockets that will fire every couple shots. It's a great combination of, like, a perfect combination of good things coming together. It is on paper a little more unassuming than some of our other options, but Iterative Loop has been one of my favorite legendary fusion rifles that I have used in Destiny. It probably is still, honestly, my favorite. In a world where, Plug 1, I think, might be its closest competition, I would still go Iterative Loop, even though Plug 1 probably has a slightly more modern perk pool. I would still go Iterative Loop. You can pair that either with Compulsive Reloader, which is going to be the better perk if you're trying to make Volt Shot matter on this gun. Get that quick red bar kill, get the fast reload with Compulsive Reloader, and then get that Volt Shot out. Otherwise, I would recommend Lead from Gold just for the ammo economy. With regard to exotics, there's going to be a few good options. Obviously, 1K was very popular back in the day, and I think it will be popular again, though I don't know how that's going to change now that it applies Scorch and that it relies on ignitions for a lot of its damage. Running multiple 1Ks in the current meta is counterproductive. It's like running multiple Dragon's Breaths. Particle Reconstruction might change the math on that a little bit, and we'll have to see how that works. Merciless is going to be another great option because it does a lot of damage very quickly. A little boring for my taste, but a good option. Me, I am using Delicate Tomb until Bungie gives me a good enough reason to take it off. This is already my favorite fusion in the game, and it's about to get so much better. They announced in the TWID that not only, are we getting Particle Reconstruction, which is going to make this gun great, they are specifically buffing Delicate Tomb by increasing the chance to make ionic traces from minor combatants from 4% to 10%, which is a much bigger buff than you think because you're killing a lot of red bars very quickly with this weapon. Increases the PvE damage bonus of the Tempest Cascade shot from 30% to 100%, and removes the timer from Tempest Cascade, meaning that it will last until fired. This beautiful, perfect storm feels like it was made for me. But more importantly, it really does a lot to elevate this weapon. So for those who don't know the general function of Delicate Tomb, which you can purchase at the Monument to Lost Lights on the tower, Delicate Tomb has 2 fire modes. Its hip fire mode is a wide burst. Think the old Coriolis Force, which is getting updated, the aggressive frame fusion rifles. So it's a wide spread, but deals more damage. You can also aim down sights to get a more traditional concentrated burst from the fusion that does normal damage. Both of these, when defeating enemies, have a chance to spawn ionic traces. And ionic traces are good for 2 reasons. They're going to make the gun stronger, but they also give you energy for all of your abilities. Ionic traces also come to you, which is super nice. So you don't even need to worry about going and pick it up. It will find its way to you. When it does, if you have the catalyst for Delicate Tomb, it will reload 4 rounds into the Delicate Tomb. And as the base perk for Tempest Cascade works, once you get an ionic trace, your next shot will jolt targets. And whether that's one ad in the middle of a million, they're all going to die from electricity. Or if you shoot that big guy like Particle Reconstruction wants you to, you're going to be able to apply jolt without having to worry about reloading. You're going to be able to keep firing the weapon, dealing more damage, loading more rounds into the magazine, and really take advantage of that jolt that you're applying. Delicate Tomb, thanks to the fact that it is an exotic, also has the added benefit of much deeper reserves. The base reserves, like total ammo for this weapon, is 26 shots. You're lucky if your fusion rifle gets anywhere close to 20, and that is with ammo mods. With one ammo mod, you can get this up to 29, which is kind of where I'm going to spend my time. So just about 30 shots. And now with Tempest Cascade having no time limit, so you can stow that and save it for the next big bad or bunch of enemies you want to throw it at, having it do 100% additional damage instead of just 30 is going to be a game changer. You wouldn't believe me if I told you I have had some of my best damage phases against bosses. I just ran a Vesper the other day with my team that's running the dungeon on Friday. And I ran Delicate Tomb with my rocket launcher and with my rocket chest piece and everything. And I had a considerable amount more damage than they did. Especially when bosses are big and you can get close enough to them. That hip fire deals a ton of damage. You're talking much slower firing fusion rifle amounts of damage at a rapid fire pace. And against a big guy, you're not missing. With Particle Reconstruction, this fusion is going to be incredible. I have no doubt in my mind. And this thing is going to be attached to me. I already have 30,000 kills on mine, just to put it in perspective. And my goal is to double that in Heresy. Whether or not I get there, we'll see. But that's the goal. That's the end game. Again, you can acquire it at the Monument to Lost Lights. So definitely check that out. Give it a try. A lot of people sleep on this. They're like, it's not good. It's not good. The people who don't say Delicate Tomb is good are the people who haven't really given it a fair shot and haven't seen it at its best. They haven't gotten into the flow. They don't run the fragments that give you ionic traces from defeating enemies, things like that. There are so many ways to build into Delicate Tomb to make it an absolute monster. You don't have to do those things, but if you do, this is one of the most fun weapons in the game, hands down. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you only trust me one time, trust me right now. Delicate Tomb is going to be fire in Heresy. Thank you guys so much for watching the video today. I'm sorry that I have been on a little bit of a hiatus. Things being what they were with the game, I've been taking a break away from it. I have been coming back, more regularly recently. Just a lot of the weapons that they put out in the other 2 acts, they didn't really stand out to me in meaningful ways that I really felt compelled to make content around them. But with Heresy getting into, the swing of things, there's going to be a lot of guns that I am excited about. And so I do anticipate getting back into the swing of making these videos. So please, continue to check those out. I really do appreciate everybody who subscribed while I was on that hiatus. The people who are watching this video today, you guys mean the world to me. Also, again, Game to Give, link in the description, along with my Twitch if you want to come and watch us participate in the contest mode dungeon on Friday. That would be just swell. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.